had a pretty good childhood. I didn't really have much to complain about. Two parents that loved each other and had a roof over my head, everything I needed. When I was about 6 or 7, my parents got divorced, and that kind of started like a downhill spiral for me. I kind of started to shut everyone out in my life, and as a 6 or 7-year-old, you shouldn't have so many powerful emotions that kind of change the way you view life. And I dealt with the divorce super hard, so my parents put me in therapy in around 3rd or 4th grade to help me deal with my emotions, and it was something that I just didn't want to talk to anyone. I've always been such a private person, and I didn't think that a person that would sit there with a notebook could fix the damage that was irreversible in my head and my life. So for many years, I just shut everyone out, and as I was going through middle school, and you go through the stages of like puberty and getting older and like making new friends and stuff, I was kind of always a person that dealt with change it was always very hard for me because I had such a dramatic change in my life that destroyed me at such a young age that I was just scared of change. So I kind of continued to shut everyone out in my life, and I had continuous family problems, basically all the way up from being like not liking my new step parents, and my little brother was born and I didn't like the idea of not being the youngest anymore, and I just never dealt with those emotions, and I would keep them inside and bottle them up, and there'd be days where I would just unleash everything and just like have terrible lash outs. And then going into high school, I was still continuing the same thing. I wouldn't tell anyone anything. I wasn't talking in therapy. I wasn't telling my parents when things bothered me. I would just sit in my room and essentially cry at night, just hoping that like things would change. And then around the winter of my freshman year, I just was like spiraling. I kind of lost motivation to do anything. I would go out with my friends and I'd be miserable, and nothing that my friends had ever done wrong, but I was fighting myself on the inside, and it's hard to be around people when you're not being yourself and you're not feeling like yourself anymore. And I didn't reach out for help. My parents constantly extended like a hand to me and like would try to guide me and help me and get me the help that I needed, but I would just shut it down. I didn't want anything to do with that. And I feel like many of you know, sometimes when you try to help people that need help, they don't want it, and you can't really force anything on anyone that's not going to be accepting of it. So going into the spring of my freshman year of high school, I had basically hit rock bottom. I didn't want to do anything. I lost literally motivation to do daily tasks, and in May, I had been struggling with anxiety since a young age because I was terrified of change. I was terrified of people walking out of my life. I was terrified of everything, and so I kind of just let go. I stopped hanging out with friends. I didn't want to go to lacrosse anymore, and one day I was laying in my bed and I was like, I don't want to be alive anymore, and I laid there still. I hadn't talked to my parents. I didn't want help. I wanted it to be over. And eventually my parents realized that I was not well. I was really sick, and so they decided that since I was underage that they were going to bring me in and that I needed that help. And that day that I didn't want to be alive anymore and that I was ready just to leave this earth and leave all the pain that I had been having the last 7 years of my life, I was just ready to ditch it. And after I got that help, being there, doctor's appointments after doctor's appointments, medicine, throwing me into therapy, I started to see that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And that day changed me because sometimes you go through things in life and you feel like there's no light, and I shut out everyone. And I learned that day that even no matter how lonely I felt, that I always had someone, and it should have never gotten to the point that I basically just ditched everything in my life. And from that day forward, I realized that there's so much more to life than dwelling on the negative things. I was always a negative Nelly. I looked at every situation, I would try to victimize myself and make myself feel like, oh, I got the short end of the stick, or there was negative parts in my life. And it doesn't just get magically better, it takes time, but that day was a day that I knew there was so much more to life than just dwelling on the negatives and feeling those emotions. And it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You're not going to magically, feel better because you finally went to the doctor or you finally got the help you needed. It's a slow process, and you fall down 8 or 7 times, but you get up 8. So there's always going to be something else out there for you. And I started to learn that change can be a good and bad thing, but it's all about how you handle it. You can choose to sit and be sad and feel bad for yourself, or you can choose to make the best of your situations. And that day taught me that I never wanted to feel like that again, and I never wanted to push everyone away and feel sorry for myself again, because no one should ever feel like they don't want to feel like be alive. No one should ever have those thoughts. And I just decided that I didn't want that anymore. And from that point on, I've had multiple things that I think if I was in the same mindset that I was that spring of my freshman year, I wouldn't be sitting here today. But I always try to look at the positives and understand that life gets better and it's going to be a rocky road. And that's why I got this tattoo on my arm. It says, "The sun will rise and we will try again." It's kind of the same concept that like you're going to have those bad days, but tomorrow's a new day. Right now, it's my last day at San Diego State, and it obviously is a very hard day for me, but because I have that mindset that tomorrow's going to be better and the sun will rise and opportunities are going to start spewing for me, that because I have that mindset, I'm coping with leaving so well. And I think that it all just roots from that day, and I've become such a strong person, and I found myself, and I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm not perfect. There's days still that I doubt myself, but because I have that outlet, that I got the help that I needed, and I'm continually searching. And another key thing that I learned is like surround yourself with the people that make you feel your best. Surround yourself with the friends that if you are feeling down, that you can reach out and they'll be there for you. And if that's not what they are, then it's time to, cleanse and like find the people that make you feel comfortable and safe and like they're gonna be there for you. And I think it's just important to always like look out for yourself, because at the end of the day, like all you have is yourself. You're the only person that understands truly like what's going on in your head. And so you need to listen to yourself and do what you need for yourself. And if that's self-care or hanging out with people that make you feel good or doing whatever makes you happy, you need to understand yourself. And it should never take it to rock bottom. I will always see signs in my friends if they're getting there to like reach out and just understand that there's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how low or how high you are in life, it's always going to get better, and you just have to trust yourself.